Can you imagine losing everything overnight? Your job, your life savings, your home. This isn't a dystopian movie plot. It was the reality for millions during the Great Depression, one of the most devastating economic disasters in world history. It began in 1929 and plunged the United States into a decade of hardship, fundamentally changing the nation forever. So how did the world's leading economy collapse so dramatically? Let's find out. The story often begins on a single, fateful day, October 29th, 1929, forever known as Black Tuesday. The U.S. stock market, which had been roaring through the 1920s, suddenly and violently collapsed. For years, the mood was electric. It seemed like everyone was getting rich off stocks. People from all walks of life, from tycoons to janitors, were borrowing money to buy shares, a practice called buying on margin. The belief was simple. Stock prices would just keep going up. But no party lasts forever. When stock prices began to dip, a quiet unease turned into full-blown panic. Everyone rushed to sell their shares at once. The system buckled under the pressure. In a matter of days, the market hemorrhaged billions of dollars, more money than the U.S. had spent in all of World War I. Fortunes built over lifetimes vanished in minutes. But here's a crucial point. The stock market crash didn't single-handedly cause the Great Depression. Instead, it was like a massive earthquake that triggered a catastrophic tsunami, exposing deep, underlying cracks in the American economy. The first wave of that tsunami hit the banks. In the 1920s, many banks weren't just holding on to people's money. They were actively investing it in the booming stock market. When the market crashed, these banks lost colossal sums. As news of the losses spread, a new kind of panic set in. People, terrified of losing their life savings, rushed to their local banks to withdraw every penny. It's called a bank run, and it's a bank's worst nightmare. Think about it. Banks don't keep all their cash in a vault. They lend it out to create more economic activity. So when everyone demanded their money at the same time, the banks simply didn't have enough cash on hand. The doors started to close. One by one, then dozen by dozen, banks failed. Over 9,000 banks went under during the Depression. For millions of ordinary Americans, this was the moment their world truly fell apart. There was no federal deposit insurance back then, no safety net. If your bank failed, your money was just gone. Imagine the feeling of seeing the doors of your bank chain shut, knowing your entire life savings had disappeared forever. With the financial system in ruins, the economic pain spread like a virus. Businesses, unable to get loans and facing customers with no money to spend, began to fail. Factories went silent. Storefronts were boarded up. The most visible and painful symptom of the Depression was the explosion of unemployment. By 1933, the crisis reached its terrifying peak. A staggering 25% of the American workforce was unemployed. 1 in every 4 people who wanted a job simply couldn't find one. This wasn't just a number. It was a human catastrophe. Armies of jobless men wandered the country, riding freight trains from town to town, desperately searching for any kind of work. Families lost their homes and were forced to live in makeshift shantytowns, grimly nicknamed Hoovervilles, after the president at the time, Herbert Hoover. These were sprawling camps of shacks built from scrap metal, cardboard, and old crates. In the cities, long lines of hungry people snaked around street corners, waiting for a free bowl of soup and a piece of bread from charity kitchens. For millions, survival, not progress, became the sole focus of daily life. And as if things weren't bad enough, nature itself seemed to turn against the American people. A severe drought hit the Great Plains, turning fertile farmland into a barren wasteland. Years of unsustainable farming practices had stripped the topsoil, and now, with no rain and relentless winds, the soil just blew away in massive, choking clouds of dust. This ecological disaster created the Dust Bowl. Black blizzards buried homes, destroyed crops, and killed livestock. Thousands of farming families, known as Okies, were forced to abandon their land and migrate west, especially to California, in search of a new start, only to find more hardship and prejudice. The American dream had turned into a relentless nightmare. So, how did America climb out of this abyss? The turning point came in 1933 with the election of a new president, Franklin D. Roosevelt. He came into office with a message of hope and a promise of bold, persistent experimentation. He told the American people, The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. His plan was called the New Deal, a sweeping series of government programs designed to tackle the crisis from every angle. The New Deal was all about the three R's: relief, recovery, and reform. Relief meant getting immediate help to the jobless and hungry. Recovery meant getting the economy back on its feet. And reform meant fixing the underlying problems to ensure a disaster like this could never happen again. The government launched massive public works projects like the Civilian Conservation Corps and the Works Progress Administration, which put millions of men to work building roads, bridges, parks, and dams. These jobs didn't just provide a paycheck. They restored a sense of dignity and purpose. The New Deal also created fundamental pillars of the modern American safety net. The Social Security Act was passed, providing a pension for the elderly and disabled. The FDIC was established to ensure bank deposits, so people would never again lose their life savings in a bank failure. New laws were enacted to regulate the stock market and protect workers' rights to form unions. Recovery was slow and uneven, and historians still debate how effective the New Deal truly was in ending the Depression. But what is undeniable is that it restored hope to a broken nation. It redefined the relationship between the American people and their government. The final push that lifted the country out of the Depression, however, came from an unexpected source: the outbreak of World War II. The massive industrial production needed for the war effort created millions of jobs, kicked factories into high gear, and effectively ended the era of high unemployment. The Great Depression left deep, permanent scars on the American psyche, but it also forged a new nation. It led to a much larger role for the government in managing the economy and providing a social safety net. It strengthened labor unions and changed how people thought about money, debt, and security. Generations who lived through it developed lifelong habits of thrift and caution. It remains a powerful, humbling lesson in how quickly prosperity can vanish and how fragile our economic systems can be. So, when we look back at the Great Depression, is it just a closed chapter of history? Or is it a timeless mystery, a warning of how a powerful economy can spiral into chaos, reminding us to never take stability for granted? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the past interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world. See you next time.